Welcome to Two Guys.
Hey, Gil.
and an MBA.
Yeah, I want to talk
What?
about Trump's strategy. Yes, we're going to talk about the trade, the tariffs. This Saturday, Trump went ahead with his 10%, 25% on Canada, China, and Mexico. And it's funny, I sent a map out
Well,
showing.
interestingly, he gave China only 10% a tariff, but 25 to Mexico and Canada. And then Trudeau immediately responded with a similar tariff in
Yeah,
response. Yeah.
our fearless leader, our lame duck. What I found interesting, at which he his tactic, and he used it in his first presidency, and he's really leaning into it. And they use this a lot in their narrative. They call flooding the zone, and that's when they bombard you with constant, never-ending issues, policies, and they blast you. And its entire design is to keep not only countries off balance, but also the media. So the media doesn't even know what to take a bite out of, and they're scrambling for story after story. And then you look at I mean, any tariff will be added to the cost of the goods. The manufacturer doesn't say, listen, I'm going to take the hit. You
No.
add it, any cost, you add it. I mean, I used to be a buyer, and anytime I would charge my vendor 10% restocking fee, I knew they were adding it to the cost the next time around. So it was kind of a wash,
They
but the
just pass
consumer
it
pays
down
for
the
it.
value chain. Yeah.
You have to. So everybody keeps asking, why is he doing this if the economic benefit is kind of murky? It's just tactics. Just keep knocking people off balance, and then and I can tell you, he's gonna get more than he pays somewhere, either with a tariff or a policy at the border or voter, his popularity goes up. He's gonna get a benefit just by
He's creating value, in other words, you're saying he's creating some kind of value. We're not sure yet what the value creation is, but
yeah, he's getting something for sure.
he's getting
America will.
something.
He's getting something.
I saw, okay, I just wanted to quote NPR, not that I'm a big NPR advocate, but they had an article. China called it what Trump tariffs a violation of WTO rules. My reaction to that was meh. Trump used illegal drugs and illegal immigration as justifications. For China, he cited the fentanyl crisis, and then for Mexico, obvious reasons, cartels. Canada, I don't know what drugs you got. Maybe prescription drugs that are cheaper. That's the justification. I don't know. There was some interesting behavior that preceded it. The trade data showed that businesses and some individual shoppers, they tried to beat those tariffs. So they were betting that the tariffs are going to happen. They went and loaded up on durable goods like autos, televisions. Those sales jumped in December. A sharp rise in imports in December. And, considering Mexico is the leading producer of flat screen TVs, people were loading up on items, for example, like those. You know, we're seeing it already have an effect on the economics. Just the shouting, like you said, just flooding what did you call it? Flooding the zone, or yeah,
Flooding the zone. Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
the trumpeting of
Trumpeting. I
nonsense,
like that.
right?
Trump.
Yeah.
Trumpeting. Right.
Just flooding the zone is enough to start to shift behavior, psychology, and economics. And now that the tariffs are here, there, there's uncertainty. Are they final? Can he repeal them back? Will he reduce the percentage? Will he increase them? So you're going to see a lot more volatility, I would think. I mean, I think NAFTA is dying, if not dead, after this. You had a North American free trade agreement from Bill Clinton in the 90s, and now you have a trade war between a lame duck Trudeau and a Trump that thinks he has a mandate. Whether he does is questionable. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what did you
During
think?
his first presidency, they redid NAFTA. They call it the UMS, like Canada calls it its
Yeah,
own
yeah,
acronym. So
yeah, yeah,
he was involved in renegotiating NAFTA. A lot of things he does is personal. So when
yeah,
we did the NAFTA renegotiate, he doesn't like Justin Trudeau, but we had a Krista Friedland who's now running for leadership. He absolutely despises her. He makes things personal, and then he executes where his emotion goes, right? I know he did Anthony Robbins and all these. It's the emotion, right? So
yeah.
when he is not happy, he will look for some sort of fight. So you got to parse out the emotion from the actual, like, economic or political reason. Um, It's funny, another little thing that's happening, that's anecdotally happening. A lot of Canadian businesses are now moving some of their business into satellite US offices. Like a
Hmm.
small furniture company will now move their offices to a border city because they want to avoid that 25%. So they start setting up shop. And again, that's a win. How small or how big it gets is irrelevant for the Trump administration when you have Canadian companies saying, hey, we're going to repatriate, we're going to go to the United States now. We're going to get out of Canada and that's our largest market. So we're going to sell out of the US now.
It's an interesting strategy. You see it across states in the U.S. too. For example, I just have a personal experience with this. Uh, my aunt's husband had a business, and he moved it from Seattle down to the border of Oregon and Washington, and he lived on the Washington side, and he bought all his stuff from the Oregon side. The reason being, Washington State has no has a high sales tax, but I think it's like 10% now, but no income tax, no state income tax, and Oregon has think maybe 6% state income tax, but no sales tax. So you get the
Wow.
best of both worlds. So it's kind of a similar strategy, what you're talking about, these companies that are setting up satellite offices so that they can avoid the tariff. I mean, that's kind of the point, that he wants to bring the production back
Absolutely.
to the
Right.
US. At what cost? I guess a lot of economists might ask, at the cost of the consumer, at the cost of prices, inflation. I mean, this seems like it will be inflationary. I don't see how it couldn't be inflationary for certain things like gasoline, food. I saw an article saying he already made an exception for gas coming from Canada, that it's like 10%, not 25%, because he didn't want to see the gas prices go up, because he knows if gas prices go from whatever it is today plus 50% or whatever, people at the pump, they get angry. It's not a huge expense when you look at it and zoom out, but like you said, it's emotional for people when they see that, and myself included, when they see the price of gas going up really, really, really fast. That it's something they see every week, every day, and you drive right by it on the highway every day. So you're tuned into it more than other prices. When you see it going up a lot, you get angrier than really you might should be, right? You might should.
Right. Yeah, that's that those kitchen table, like we talked about the last week about the misery index and how
Yeah,
he's smart enough to simple enough to understand like kitchen table things like your mortgage. That's why he wanted interest rates to drop. And he wasn't happy the Fed didn't do it. And that's why gas prices and chicken, everybody's using egg prices now. Eggs are like the
yeah,
biggest thing.
right. Yeah,
Everybody's like bucket a quarter up. And it's like, so yeah, the funny thing is I always think about chronic and acute things, right? He thinks there's a chronic problem. Like this is a problem is not short term, a long term problem with America's place or where they've lost their place in the world. They're being taken advantage of. That's what he's saying. And the remedies or the punishment, they're acute, meaning they're not going to last long, right? The tariffs won't last long. But he's saying we've got a problem with America and people are taking advantage. Europe is, Canada is, Mexico is, everybody is. And he wants to make sure that there's systemic change to that. And he's using short-term fixes. Like the tariffs are short-term fix. And the sad part is if he gets up in a bad mood 2 years from now, let's say maybe he gets up and he doesn't like the color of Canada's flag. He just wants blue in it because it's only red and white. He's going to say tariff. He's just going to wake up and say tariff. So you need a better strategy. That's all I'm saying. Canada and the world needs a better strategy. And we don't have them right now. Everybody's reactionary because they're off balance. They need to settle down and come up with a lasting strategy. If not, this is going to happen over and over again for the next 4 years
it's
and beyond.
interesting. It's interesting framing. You're saying that he's using short-term solutions to try to deal with long-term problems, because he doesn't have to think about the long term. He's probably not going. I mean, by law, he's not allowed to have a second term. He's probably not going to push for changing that. I mean, we'll see. But like, this is probably it for him. So why would he be concerned for the long term ramifications? It remains to be seen.
Well, I don't think he's going to be 82 when this is over, and
Yeah,
I still think he's going to have a mouth. He's going to influence a lot of things. He's not going away. But anyway, let's see how the world reacts. I think, yeah, long-term strategy. Canada needs that. They can't react. They've been given a problem, and the problem has to be solved. It's either gets solved now or you're going to kick the can down the road and it's going to happen over and over
It
again.
it feels to me like kind of putting a band-aid on a broken arm or like a mortal wound or something. Like it feels like the US empire is in decline. You
Yeah.
know, the GDP is growing slow, I think like 2-3% compared to China's growth, compared to India. Other countries are growing much faster. US hegemony is like down over the world. The US has lost basically every war that it's been in for the last since Vietnam, basically. You
Mm.
know, I mean, this there's some economists that I follow that argue that this is an empire in decline, and that this is just kind of like the last gasp to blame the outsiders and not look inside at the problems, but to externalize the blame onto Canada and Mexico and illegal immigrants and Greenland and Panama and so forth. And what do you make of that? You think this is the collapse of American empire, or is this just a
I mean, history has always
strange
said
time?
that empires do decline, right? And maybe
Yeah.
this is, you know, Donald Trump has always been an outlier. When you see like a progression of things, like I think in 2016, there was massive predictions that the stock market is going to crash because baby boomers are now at an age where they're aging out and they're going to start to pull their money out of the markets, and which was just a predictably that should happen. And then Donald Trump got elected and
Yeah.
everything changed. The stock market shot up. He
Yeah.
he actually rewrote some of the predictive, I guess, algorithms. And so I think you're right. It's going to be chaotic. Yes, it is in decline. But I think you don't know what he can do because his objective, make America great again. And that's what he's going to try to do.
I, I mean, I'll say this. If there was somebody to oversee the decline of the American empire and the baby boomer generation, Trump is the one to go out with a boom. He's the one to
Yes.
dazzle and make it a
Right.
show.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, he's been in power 2 weeks. That's been two
Yeah.
weeks. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe three weeks.
Feels
I'm
like two
like,
years, doesn't it?
it's like 3 years of like you just turn it on, your head's like, and that's flooding the zone. It's like
Yeah.
just overwhelm them, right? And he's not even done yet. He's still getting some of his people
Oh,
through Senate
he's not even
confirmation.
into day 30 yet.
No,
Yeah.
it's interesting, and like he's a lot of people are trying to pass the Senate confirmations. Robert Kennedy, he's not through yet with with health. The other one, Tulsi Gabbard's not through with. I think she's head spy or whatever. So there's more stuff coming. His defense secretary, as soon as he got confirmed, I think they eliminated DEI practice. They removed certain members off of their not watch list, the protection list. He's just like he's going out. He's implementing Trump. So we're going to see more and more of this
It's
every week.
I think we're either going to have a spectacular resurgence of America or a spectacular burning out of America. It's going down or up in flames, one way or another.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a spectacular increase. I think when you pick a fight with your friends is your first to on your to-do list.
Yeah.
It's like after your cousin country, Canada. I get Canada's kind of a lazy country in my opinion. We could do better. But when you pick a fight with your friend, that just shows. I mean, to me, that's kind of like petty and tasteless,
Yeah.
and it's not necessary,
Yeah.
right? So we'll see.
We'll see.
Leave
Stay tuned.
Denmark alone. Leave
Stay
Denmark
tuned.
alone. They need Greenland.
The poor Danes.
No, the poor Danes.
Please consider subscribing below.
Thank you for being with us. Please leave your comments, feedback, what you think about us, and see you in the next podcast. Bye.